soy así. Yo quiero que el Madrid pierda siempre. Esta es la rivalidad deportiva que ha pasado toda la vida aquí en España.
With sound bites like this and this.
Muy bien, y soy el primero, ¿no? que se alegra que Pique haya recuperado su mejor versión, su mejor nivel, porque al fin y al cabo en el Barça no me alegra tanto, pero sí.
It's easy to see why these two titans of Spanish football were portrayed as sworn enemies, who were forced to keep a lid on it when they represented the national team. Look behind the headlines, however, and you'll see there's more to this story. In this video, we examine the rivalry between two legends of La Liga to find out if all is really as it seems. Sergio Ramos and Gerad Pique have three things in common. Number one, they're both world-class center-backs. Number two, they both came through Spain's golden generation at the same time. Number three, they are both unapologetic leaders who will defend their party's interests until the bitter end. Add that to the fact that they were pitted on opposite sides of one of the fiercest, most politically charged rivalries in sport, and you have a recipe for conflict. Once senior players like Casillas and Puyol had begun to fade, players who had kept a modicum of peace during Spain's best years, the responsibility for representing the interests of those two famous clubs passed naturally onto the shoulders of Ramos and Pique. This happened at a time when either club could legitimately lay claim to having the best player in the world, and even to be the best team in the world. Given the context, it's hard to imagine a scenario in which these two don't clash. The roots of the apparent animosity can be traced to a 2010 press conference in which the pair faced the media together. A journalist asked Pique to respond to a question about David Villa in Catalan. But before Pique had a chance to speak, Ramos interrupted. In Andalus? Tell him in Andalusian. In case your knowledge of European tongues isn't crash hot, we'll just explain it for now. There is no such language, only an accent. And nobody would know this better than Ramos, who is himself from Andalusia. Ramos was really taking a swipe at Pique's Catalan heritage. You might expect a mischievous Ramos to have made it immediately clear that he was joking, but he didn't. As a proud man who came through the ranks at La Masia, Pique was never going to enjoy this comment. And so, it served as the first shot in a war of words that would escalate over the decade that followed. The first opportunity Pique got to return the favor, he took it. After a 5-0 Camp Nou drubbing of their closest rivals a few months later, a game in which Ramos was sent off for a wild tackle on Messi, the Barcelona star took it upon himself to show the crowd a manita, a Spanish gesture used to describe a 5-goal win. Unsurprisingly, the Madridistas were enraged, and the battle lines were drawn. The rivalry between these two clubs never fades. It simply ebbs and flows, with momentum swinging back and forth in the process. The rivalries between these two men, however, did subside for some time, with Ramos claiming that he had spoken privately with Pique about keeping a lid on their antics before Euro 2012. I grabbed Pique and we spoke. Let's stop being little kids. Let's stop being so unintelligent and unprofessional, both of us. But a string of flashpoints in 2015 brought an end to the ceasefire, and none was more provocative than the moment when, having just won the treble with Barcelona, Pique planted the Catalan flag in the center circle of Berlin's Olympiastadion. This act sent pulses racing, but he wasn't finished. At the coronation party, Pique took a very public shot at Ronaldo and Madrid. The Portuguese had hired Colombian singer Kevin Rodan to perform at his lavish birthday party, at a time when Real's form had begun to falter. This caused a rift within the dressing room, and Los Blancos ended the season empty-handed. Pique simply couldn't help himself. Thanks to Kevin Rodan, it all started with you. Ramos fought back. It never occurs to me to remember other people that aren't my teammates. Soon after, and perhaps buoyed by the fact that he had touched a nerve, Pique took aim at Real Madrid defender Alvaro Arbeloa, whom he described as a traffic cone. Ramos leapt to his colleague's defense, claiming that Pique should follow the example set by Puyol, Xavi, Raul, or Casillas. Now, this might sound innocuous enough, but what Ramos was really saying here was that Pique lacked the class to be a true leader of his side. If Pique was listening, he either didn't agree or didn't care, because he was soon on the attack again. When Madrid were expelled from the 2015-2016 Copa del Rey for fielding an ineligible player, namely Russia's Denis Cheryshev, the Catalan took to Twitter to post a series of emojis mocking his rivals. Ramos was quick to react. He has had enough role models to avoid these stupid things. Cut to 2017 and things escalated further, as their spat went from exchanges in the press to an altercation on the pitch. Prior to the April Clásico in the Bernabeu, Pique took a series of swipes at the Spanish referees. We know how this works already, and we saw what happened yesterday in Sevilla versus Madrid. We want to play football, not roulette, which is what this refereeing causes. Yet again, Ramos stepped in. We all know about Pique's world, where everything is a plot against him. When the game arrived, however, both players and the referees were thrust into the spotlight. Ramos was sent off for another wild lunge at Messi, and he didn't leave quietly, aiming both a sarcastic round of applause and a thumbs-up gesture at his compatriot. Smelling blood, Pique poured fuel on the fire in the mixed zone after the game. Ramos is going to regret that challenge when he gets home. They are used to very permissive refereeing. And sure enough, Ramos took the bait. Jerry loves to talk about referees, complaining, tweeting, and he got it his way. Relations looked to be at an all-time low, but politics was about to disrupt the dynamic. "2017 was also the year of the Catalan independence referendum and all the controversy that surrounded it. There was really no way that Barcelona or their outspoken figurehead could not be dragged into the media furor. From today until Sunday, let us express ourselves peacefully. We do not give them any excuse. That's what they want." With an international break around the corner, his comments had immediate repercussions. Pique's tweet is not the best if you don't want them to whistle. Maybe the tweet is not the best for the group either. And sure enough, the Barcelona man was booed by Spanish fans at an open training session so ill-tempered it was abandoned after 23 minutes. From the outside, it appeared that this uncomfortable union might be about to end. I think it will be difficult to sort out the Pique situation. I do not know if Ramos and Pique have spoken, but it is not a usual situation. The media even reported that the relationship between the men was broken beyond repair. However, Pique decided to hold a brutally honest press conference, in which he laid bare the true nature of his relationship with Ramos.
Lo de Sergio Ramos es toda una mentira. Con Sergio Ramos nos llevamos fenomenal, lo he repetido 20.000 veces. Es más, seremos socios ahora de un negocio que le planteé. Entonces, ya está bien de tópicos y de decir que con los jugadores hay mala relación, Sergio y Piqué, siempre la relación del nunca acabar. La relación con Sergio es fenomenal.
If you've been listening closely in 2015 when this issue first reared its head, you'd have heard something similar.
Cambie, no esperen que pida perdón, no lo voy a hacer. En este sentido sí que amo mucho este equipo, pero esto no me impide que esta rivalidad me impide tener luego relaciones con otros jugadores del Real Madrid. Mi relación con los jugadores del Real Madrid es fantástica. Te puedo poner otro ejemplo, con Iker, el día antes del 4-0 en el Calderón. Creo que nació Sasha unos días antes, mi segundo hijo, y Iker me escribió un mensaje, Iker me envió unas flores, perdón, Iker y Sara me enviaron flores nos enviaron flores a Shaki y a mí, y le contesté, muchas gracias Iker, es un detalle, y estuvimos hablando del partido, hostia, mañana tenéis muchas bajas en defensa, tal, y le dije, ojalá te metan 4. Se lo dije, se lo comenté, ojalá te metan 4, que sean imparables, que tú no falles, pero que te metan 4. Y al día siguiente va y le mete 4. Ya fue la hostia, vamos. Y luego aún nos reímos, nos estamos riendo sobre ello y no pasa nada. Yo con Iker tengo una relación fantástica. Y con Ramos no es tan fantástico, pero también tengo una relación muy, muy buena. Nos podemos sentar y hablar y hablamos de 1000 cosas.
So, what's really going on here? Was it all for the cameras? Were they ordered to dilute their rhetoric when things got too hot? The truth is likely to be more straightforward, and nobody has put it more eloquently than Ramos. I defend what's mine, Pique what's his, and when we defend the same, we do it together. But don't expect me to hug him after a Clásico. This feud, it seems, is nothing more than two men doing their jobs. Pique, like the leader of the opposition, must apply pressure to the ruling party whenever possible. And Ramos, as the captain of his ship, must do whatever he can to keep the wheels steady. They're not the first to fill these roles, and they won't be the last. Pique and I like to throw each other pebbles, but as soon as I see him, I'm going to give him a hug. It's the rivalry between Real Madrid and Barcelona. We don't take it badly. It's all very sporting. This sentiment is backed up by the fact that it was Ramos who handed a smiling Pique a commemorative shirt, after he had finally clocked up his 100th appearance for La Roja against Iran in the World Cup of 2018. So there you have it, the true story behind one of the longest-running feuds in football. All this talk of Clásicos got you curious to know more? Check out this video on the 6 biggest clashes between Real Madrid and Barcelona. And get ready to relive some iconic moments from Spanish football.